Hello, second part, laser cutting. So I have placed, in order just an example, the several polylines for a building. 0, 1, 2. Check out the organization is from bottom up, from left to right. So we keep the same rhythm as here, and we always again place it within the limits of this interior boundary. Okay, I did it for the building, and I did it for the terrain. Okay, let's go and see how we can deal with this in the laser cutting, because there's a little bit of cleaning up, there's a little bit of copy and paste into another file, etc., etc. So laser cutting, if you go to this web page, the New York City College of Technology Fab, you have all kinds of tutorials on Rhino, panning tools, which is kind of like a plugin for Rhino, similar to Grasshopper, laser cutting tutorials, etc., etc. I recommend that you could do some of these tutorials anytime you have. Okay, if you go to under fabrication laser cutting, here they are, the machines. The two first are actually the Universal PLS and X660 laser cutting machines, and they have this size for their bed size. If you find that the Universal ILS is available, I'm not sure, I thought it wasn't, but if it is available, you might consider the option of incrementing the size of your bed to 48/24, but for that you probably want to change the rectangle that defines the bed of your machine. Okay, you'll get more space, more surface, therefore more opportunities to include extra polylines that are cutting material. Okay, you have some basic modeling requirements, thickness, we have dealt with this. You can use Rhino, AutoCAD, Illustrator, vector-based programs to laser cut, so it's good. Do not have duplicates. We're gonna use a select duplicate in Rhino to make sure that that's not happening, and keep away from the edges. That's what we have been doing already with that kind of offset that we did before. All laser cutting geometry should be properly scaled, blah blah blah. That makes sense. You're gonna cut what you see, and since everything's coming from a model under control, 5.5 as a base, it should be fine if you use the exact results of the Grasshopper. The line colors for the layers, we're gonna deal with that. I recommend that more than checking here is checking the layers in your Rhino model. Okay. The important one, submission guidelines. You have to go and click here under NYCCT's Fab Laser Schedule, and you have a schedule. You click, you log in, you give probably your email from CityTech, etc., and you have to save a couple of slots here, minimum. We're talking each of them is half an hour, so you're gonna need like 2 minimum, if not 3, which is an hour and a half, since you're gonna deal at least with 6, if not more, boards. Okay, so you need to do that once you have finished all this entire process for laser cutting. Once you know pretty much what you have in hands. Okay, close that. Another thing, you have to download this file. If you click, you press download, it's called NYCCT Fab Rhino 5 template for laser cutting. Okay, now another thing that's important, if you go inside by expanding that, you have a lot of information regarding laser cutting. I want to just focus on a couple of them because we're repeating most of the things. As step 8 is important, minimum size of detail. We're gonna have to clean a bit. We'll show you, we'll introduce the idea of cleaning the little details, and you're gonna have to do it for the entire number of sections. Step 10 is also important. Please save your file in a particular format. This is what we're asking all the time. is not only us, it's just how the world works. In order for the CLTs, the laboratory technicians, to accept your file, and for you to work on the laser cutting, you're gonna have to save this carefully the way it's mentioned here. Okay, there's other stuff, so just go through it if you want and check there's some other more technical issues. Let's close. Again, download that. Let's go to Rhino. I'm gonna, once you have finished all your positioning of the curves into the format or the size of your board, you probably have 5 or 6 boards. You're gonna probably want to save this as a reference for you to come back afterwards and know that the 0 is there or the 1 is there. So it's even better if you save as and you call it clean or something like that. Okay, I had already one, that's why it's renamed. I think this one's, I wanted to have them in the tag layer. For some reason they went to the nah layer, probably because they were checked. So just select objects and take them to the tag, change object layer. Now we can turn them off. Now we don't want to take the tags with us. We only want to take the blue lines and the polylines. Okay, let's do it. Select all these, Control C, and now we're going to save and open the file we have downloaded again from the web. Double click. This is what comes up. What's going on here? Well, let's go to the perspective here and double click on perspective. Okay, let's also Control Tab, go to the top view, and let's also Control V as in paste. Oh, this comes there. We can set move command, enter, make sure all snap is on, and end, check. You go from this point, which is the ending point in the top left, to that point. Okay, the layers come in. Let's turn off what we have just placed inside and explain a little bit what's going on here. First, this object, this is the material size. Okay, we have our own material size. This is just an example. We can delete that. Okay, now this one that we cannot select is because it's locked. But we can turn off and turn on to see what it is. Is the cut area or bed area of the machines, X660 and PLS, as we mentioned before. Turn off, turn on. This is the bed that we were using. Again, if you find out that the ILS machine is open, you have much more space to work on, and you can allocate more cuts into a bigger board. Okay, so let's go. Let's turn on these guys and delete that. Nah, shouldn't even be there. Okay, surface limit. We don't want to have the interior. We delete that one, and the exterior is going to be the material size. Right click, change object layer, and select that one and delete layer. We don't need that, so now it's a little cleaner. Now we will end up with no building line layer because we're going to put them in all the other layers that come in the template. Okay, by the way, I forgot to obviously save as this guy. And you call it under the, if you go to the web, you have to use this naming convention. Okay, and you probably want to name in number 1, 2 at the end, 3, because you're going to have several options. For now, I'm going to call it 7.1. So you will do that once. You will do it, open the new one, the original one, do the same twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, as many times as needed, depending on the boards that you're cutting. Okay, so let's explain the layers idea. I'm gonna do it for the first one, but you should do it for everything. And I know it's a little bit of pickiness. There's a lot of work to do in terms of cleaning, but let's go step by step and make sure that everything is correct. Cut outer, cut inner, blue layers. What this means is what is being cut first. It goes from the beginning to the end. It cuts that layer. Cut inner first, and then outer second, from the beginning to end. Why is that? Well, mainly this option. When you have a cut inside of a cut, If you cut it this one first, the piece may fall down from the original board, and then it will go and cut that one second. It means it's gonna miss, it's not gonna be exact. We need to always cut the inner cuts first and the outer cuts second. So what you do is select all the inner cuts that you have in your models and right click, cut inner, change object layer, and they're blue, turn off, turn on. I don't really like to turn off, and select outer cuts, right click, select objects. What I do always once I'm finished is turn off the inner and make sure that I don't have a double condition of inner and out in any of the cases, okay? Now the other examples engraved, if you want to cut to a certain degree, you don't want to cut through, so it will be like engraving, like you can put your name and it will laser cut it but without going through it. Okay, another one is etch. It's pretty much a cutting like a dash line. It cuts and it doesn't cut, leaves a space, cuts, doesn't cut, leaves a space, etc., etc. Okay, so at this point we're good to go, except the problem that I mentioned that we need to clean as well. We need two things. First, whenever there's a situation where we have a very small space between cuts, it's not that it's not going to work. The machine is going to go through it, but it's just definitely not going to be able to give us this detail. So in extreme examples, and I will give you some examples, that's going to come weird. So, but probably that I wouldn't mind that much. That's going to come weird. That's going to come weird. That's going to come weird. So all these little details, you might want to leave some of them, but think of the laser going almost through the same line, so we'll just create a bigger gap in that sense. And when it does that, it's just not going to have any material at the end. So you decide how you want to do it, but I recommend that you do the cleaning that I'm going to tell you. Otherwise, you're risking that some parts may fall down or be a little bit ineffective. No. So what I will do is select some of the pieces and explode them, and I will use the extend command, select, enter, select, enter, select, enter, select. So I have extended this curve all the way there, and then I use the trim command, select the surface, enter, and select those. The same, extend, select to where, enter here, to where I want to stand it, what I want to stand, select, trim, then join. You have to join, so you have polyline and clean. Next cleaning process, well, it's good, recommendable that you do a fillet curve corners and give a very small number, and you can always just see how it looks by pressing enter and see the result. You see that little curve that is so small right there? Well, that the laser cut is going to come and do the little curve and go. If it was straight angle and perfect, it comes, kind of stops and continues. That point is going to be less attractive to the eye, less clean in that point. So that's a recommendable thing. Again, select everything, fillet corners, okay? At this point, we only want to make sure that we don't have double things. So we select, whenever you have everything, you will select everything. Otherwise, you select, in this case, I have this as an example, select, you select duplicate. That's a command. And if it says, you know, yes, there's something duplicated, it will highlight it in yellow, and you will be able to either delete it or consider if it's not correctly placed, etc. In this case, it says no duplicating found, nothing added to selection. Well, I'm good with this one. Perfect. The idea is that you do all these curves in a way that they look exactly like that one. Don't do the fillet corners to this one and then to the next one. Wait for the overall, select fillet corners. Select all of the interiors before, not only doing it into one and select the inner, change object layer and do it for the entire template. So don't do it like I did with one, do it for the whole thing. Okay, at this point, once you're ready with that, you should only have cut inner and cut outer. We're not using engrave, we're not using edges type of lines, so you can afterwards delete building lines. Just make sure again that you don't have select duplicate and that everything is joined and nice when you select them. It's a polyline and perfect and clean. Okay, you save this one, Control S, take it to the laser cutting machine and talk to the CLTs, laboratory technicians, that I have my file here and here's my board. I have bought it, it's this dimension, and there you have your time. So save your spot in the schedule and you should be good to go. Okay, again, you will open again the original from here and do the next step. You will copy and paste here the next board and do the same cleaning process. Okay, well, I hope it works. I know it's a lot of work regarding cleaning and organizing, but I think it's also a very interesting project at the end. So wish you all the best. Good luck.